Good evening. I am Debbie Scheller with A Likely Story Bookstore. On behalf of Carroll County Public Library and A Likely Story Bookstore, thank you for joining us tonight for a fun discussion with author Shelli Johannes and illustrator Mike Moran on their new picture book, Theo TheSaurus and the Dinosaur Who Loved Big Words. Please be sure to type all of your questions for Ms. Johannes and Mr. Moran in the chat window, so we will be sure to get to them after the discussion. This is a sweet and funny book filled with bright art and brand new dinosaur character and a full glossary of big words at the end. You will have a ton of fun and may learn some new words along the way. We have signed books, stickers, pencils, and bookmarks while supplies last, so get your copy tonight, but you can order online at www.sykesvillebooks.com, or you can come in the store or call for your copy. And while we're at it, you can pre-order a copy of Vivi Loves Science, which releases on July 13th, and Shine Like a Unicorn, which releases in September. Shelli Johannes is the author of the just-released picture book, Theo TheSaurus, The Dinosaur Who Loved Big Words. She is the co-author of the Love Science book series, including CC Loves Science and the upcoming Vivi Loves Science. She also has another picture book coming out in September, Shine Like a Unicorn. Ms. Johannes is also a critically acclaimed author of teen novels and thrillers, including the Nature of Grace series, Rewired, and On the Bright Side. She has never warmed up to creepy crawly bugs, but she always loves zoology and biology. In fact, she can often be found on highways and country roads saving strays or other jaywalking critters, or volunteering with the animal conservation groups like the Atlanta Zoo, the Dolphin Project, and Bosley's Puppy Orphanage. After earning her master's in marketing and working in corporate America, Shelli traded out her heels and suits for flip-flops and jeans so she could follow her passion of writing. Ms. Johannes lives in Atlanta with her husband, 2 kids, 1 bird, 1 fish, and 2 crazy-haired dogs who hate veggies. Mike Moran is an illustrator, artist, character designer whose humorous illustrations has been used by really fun clients throughout the years. He has been in major magazines, newspapers, animation, children's books, toy packaging, apps, trade show convention tents, to greeting cards. His art has also been shown in gallery shows, including solo and group shows from New York to Los Angeles. When he's not illustrating or making something, he's a dad to 2 boys, a husband to 1 wife, and a baseball fan and a Beatles fan. He has the aspirations to play first base for the New York Mets or possibly become a songwriter in Nashville. Welcome, both of you. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
Hi.
I'm going to slip out and you guys take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shelli Johannes, and I'm here with Mike Moran, who is the illustrator of Theo TheSaurus. And what we're going to do for you today is talk a little bit about how the idea came about. And I'll read the book, and you'll get a sneak peek at Theo and his story. And then I'll pass it off to Mike, and he will talk a little bit about the illustration piece of it, and maybe even show you a sneak peek of how he draws Theo. So let me pull up my... Okay. All right. So Theo TheSaurus. Salutations, as Theo would say. So hello to everyone, and thank you for coming today. I am Shelli R. Johannes, and these are my picture books. Theo TheSaurus just came out last week. We're very excited about it. I'm also the co-author of the Love Science series, which has Cece, Libby, and our new character, Vivi Loves Science, which comes out July 13th. We also have some icon reads that go with that. And my new book, Shine Like a Unicorn, comes out in September. So in order to make a picture book, you need to have a few things. You need to have an author and an illustrator. So for those of you who may not know, an author is someone who writes the words. So I wrote all of the words to this book. Unfortunately, I am not an artist, so we had to bring on a professional, which would be Mike, and he is what we call an illustrator. So he is the person that is responsible for all of the art in the book. So he comes up with the backgrounds, the colors, the characters. It's basically Mike got to create his own dinosaur. How cool is that? We all want to create our own dinosaur, and Mike got to do that. So the idea for Theo TheSaurus came about from my family. One day I was cooking in the kitchen and my son was in his bedroom far away and yelled from the back, "What is another word for happy?" And I said, "I don't know. Look at a thesaurus." And he said, "A what?" And I said, "A thesaurus." And he said, "A what?" And I yelled back and I said, "A thesaurus, like the saurus, like as in the dinosaur." And I immediately stopped, probably burnt the food that I was cooking, and said, "Oh my gosh, surely that's been done. A dinosaur who loves big words, and he's a thesaurus." And I went out and did research and could not find any book that had a thesaurus in it as a dinosaur. So I created it. So a lot of times when you have an idea, you might think that it's been done, or you might not think it's a great idea, but make sure you stick with it and go out and look, because sometimes the simplest ideas haven't been discovered yet. So right now I'm going to get into reading Theo TheSaurus, and then we'll take some questions at the end after you get a chance to meet Mike. Theo TheSaurus, the dinosaur who loved big words. Oh, sorry, my screen just popped. Hey, Mike, can you see this okay?
I can.
Okay, great. Today was migration day. Migration means to move from one place to the other. Theo's parents were ecstatic. Theo was not. That's because Theo was a thesaurus. He loved big words. The more colossal, the better. Colossal is another word for huge. As we go through the book, you'll notice Defino Dino will pop in and explain some of the bigger words to you so that you can follow along and learn these words. By the time you get to the end of the book, you will have picked up a few new words. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. But at a new school, his big words might get in the way. How will I make friends if no one understands me? He asks his parents. Communicating with new acquaintances can be challenging for a thesaurus, said his mom. We know you will work hard to make new companions, said his dad. Theo was not convinced. At school, his teacher introduced him. Class, this is Theo. The class chanted, "Hello, Theo." "Salutations," he shouted back. No one had ever met a thesaurus before, but they had a plethora of questions. Plethora means a whole lot. Do you brush your teeth? Can you roar? Do you eat meat? What's up with your tail? Is a thesaurus even a real dinosaur? Some questions hurt more than others. Theo explained his species the best he could. Thesauruses are the only logomaniacs on the planet. A logomaniac means that they are word lovers or word obsessed. But his classmates looked confused. Theo got an idea. He would teach everyone all about thesauruses. Then maybe they'd understand him and want to be his friend. Theo began by sharing some of his thesaurus vocabulary. Onomatopoeia, shenanigans, flibbertigibbet. But his classmates were not impressed. Misunderstandings could be frustrating and lonely. Theo had another idea. He would read them his favorite book. Could someone walk me to the Athenaeum, he asked. Athenaeum is another word for library. His classmates walked him to the auditorium instead. Misinterpretations could be confusing and risky. And as you can see, Theo has gotten stuck trying out for a school play. It looks like maybe Robin Hood. We'll have to ask Mike that when he comes on. During lunch, Theo offered some of his homemade snacks. Would anyone like to try my special crudité? Ew. Misconceptions could be tough to swallow and bitter. At recess, Theo tried something else. He suggested they all play a simple game together. Would anyone like to engage in a round of conceal and search? Conceal and search is another way of saying hide and seek. His classmates started a game of tag instead. Miscommunications could be dangerous and painful. But Theo was determined to find a way. On Friday, he communicated in writing instead. I request your attendance to celebrate the anniversary of my hatching. And for those who are not familiar with dinosaur terms, that is his birthday. Finally, the time came. Theo waited and waited and waited. He tried to look on the bright side. Supplementary snacks for me. Supplementary is another way of saying extra. But it wasn't that simple because playing alone was not fun. Can you explain how you're feeling? His mom asked. Theo tried to find the best word to describe his emotions. Exhausted, forlorn, confused, cantankerous, irate. But he didn't know what to say because no word seemed right. For the first time, Theo was speechless. Luckily, his parents knew just what to do because sometimes Theo didn't need any words at all. Then the doorbell rang. Ding dong, ding dong. Salutations, his new friends shouted, and that was exactly the word Theo needed to hear. Okay, so that's Theo TheSaurus, and Mike, I'm going to kick it off to you to talk about the art side.
Okay, great. I was thinking maybe since I'm having a little technical difficulties showing some stuff, maybe you can put your presentation back up of Theo and stuff. We can talk about those. But hey, everybody, I'm Mike Moran, and I am an illustrator. I've been doing this a long, long time. I've been illustrating children's books and animation and magazines and pretty much whatever my artwork can go on. I pretty much draw on. So just to get a little of my background, I went to art school in New York City, the School of Visual Arts, and I started getting work as an illustrator, and little by little I got enough to go full time and make this a career. And it's a fun career. I work out of my house, and I come down in the morning and I bring my cup of coffee in here and listen to the radio or listen to music and draw pictures all day, which is pretty good. There is stress that goes with the job, but that's any job. So I'm going to talk a little about Theo and creating Theo. I was asked to create a dinosaur, a brand new dinosaur. They didn't want it looking like just any old dinosaur. The first dinosaurs I started out with kind of looked like a regular dinosaur, but they asked me to take it a little further, so I made them a different color, blue. When you see the book, there's actually this kind of like strange little texture on them that are scales. I put little spiky hair. They asked for a bow tie, and we put braces on them. And you can see he has little scales that are shapes of books. I was asked to draw some scales that look like books, and on the back of him is a spine that looks like a spine of a book. So that's how I came up with Theo. And you can see the other dinosaurs right there. They kind of look like normal dinosaurs, but Theo's got his own little look. So I got to create my own Theo. The way I go about drawing Theo is, let me see if I can hold this up and you can see it. Will you be able to see if I do this? It's going to be a little difficult, but the way I look at it, Theo, is if you have paper and pencil at home, you can, join along with me. That'd be great. But I break them down into simple shapes. So Theo's body is really like a triangle, right? And his nose is kind of like a big sideways U, the letter U. He's got his eyes in here. Then at the top of the triangle, he's got the peak of his hair. He's got his nose right there. Does everyone see that pretty good? He's got a big smile. With his braces. He's got little strands of hair here. Now, the same way I draw his feet, I break those down into little shapes. So I just make straight lines. Then you want to make a Y for his feet. His feet kind of look like the letter Y. And he's got little @ signs, like, you know, when you type an email address, he's got little @ signs for knees. His stomach is just an upside down U. And then his scales are, like I said, they were like an open book. So that's kind of like what his scales look like. The tail, you can make like another triangle shape, and that can be his tail. Then with his arms, I made them a little longer than like a Tyrannosaurus Rex. They have those really small arms. I made his arms a lot longer so he can do things easier. Plus, he needs his bow tie. So then when you kind of do these shapes, then you kind of can go over it and fill it out to make it look a little better and tighter. And then in the background, I love putting like these strange rocks and mountains with volcanoes. And that's kind of how you look at drawing Theo. Really, when you look at something, break it down into shapes, and it's going to make your drawings a lot easier. Kayla, who's that for? Me? The question? I guess I'll answer it. If would I like to do another book? Yeah, I'm working actually on 1, 2, 3 other books right now. And actually, I just finished up one on animals too. I'm not sure when that's coming out, but I love drawing animals. They're a lot of fun.
There's a second Theo TheSaurus coming out.
Yeah.
So that will be coming out next May, and it's right now it's Theo TheSaurus. I call it the Perilous Pet, but I don't know if that title will stick. And Mike is drawing a saber-toothed tiger. So Theo finds a saber-toothed tiger named Fang and tries to train him. However, they don't speak the same language, so there's a lot of confusion. From my end, if I don't think I can't draw, my drawings are more stick figure animals. But if I could write a book about another, I kind of want to write a book about maybe a sloth or a hedgehog, like maybe just something different that we don't really see a lot in books. So I think that would be fun to do.
Great. I just finished up a book on the rainforest, so I drew tons and tons and tons.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it was fun.
So you're doing a couple other books while you're also trying to get Theo done too. That's a lot of drawing.
Yeah, they're busy.
I was going to ask you, when you draw, even when you start the other books, do you always start with basic shapes? Is that kind of what you?
Yeah, I kind of just start out. I really start out with simple doodles. When you start out, I also teach art to some students, and I always tell them, when you draw, just doodle, just come up. Don't worry about doing this great drawing at first. It's kind of like when you're writing your book, you start with a rough draft, or when you're doing something for school and the teacher wants you to do a report. Well, don't you do a rough draft first, and then you tighten it up and you get all the spelling right and you get all the punctuation right, then you can hand it in. So that's what I like to do, is just kind of like doodle and come up with some ideas and just go about it that way.
That's great. Chloe, it sounds like your question is, what is your favorite read aloud story? I love this amazing book called Theo TheSaurus. I'm just kidding.
I do.
It's just this little book on the side. I would say one of my favorite other picture books is a book called, it cracks me up every time. My kids and I read it, and my kids are teens and they love it. It's called Rock, Paper, Scissors. And it is, I think it's by, is it Drew DeWalt? I believe it's by the same person who did The Day the Crayons Met. And it is just the funniest story. I hope I'm getting the author right. It's the funniest story about rock, papers, and scissors trying to fight each other to figure out who is going to win the duels.
Yeah.
And it just cracks me up every time. What about you, Mike?
Can I say one that I illustrated?
Yes, absolutely.
I illustrated a book a few years ago called Poopendus by Artie Bennett for Blue Apple Books, and it's about poop, and
I figured.
and it's really funny and it's clever, and it's a rhyming book, and I had to draw all the different animal poop. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah, it's a great book, and it's fun to read out loud.
Benjamin, did we know each other before this book? No, we did not. Actually, authors and illustrators do not get a chance to meet each other. It's like a big secret in this industry for some reason. I think that when we first get together, they try to keep us separate so that we can have our own creative processes and we don't interrupt the other person's process. And then once the book comes out, if we're lucky enough, we get a chance to do some visits and school visits, like we're doing with you guys today with some bookstores. And so we've just met online, never met in person.
Yep.
You want to take this one? Oh, when did I know I want? Well,
Yeah,
why don't you take this one and talk a little bit about Illustrator first, and then I'll talk about author.
Oh, you want me to do it? Oh,
Yeah.
Gee, Alice and I probably been drawing ever since I was your age, right before that. So I've been drawing ever since I was young, and I never stopped. And it's just something I always wanted to do. It's kind of like in my heart that I love to do. I try to do it every day, even if I'm not working. I still try to sit with my iPad when I'm watching TV and draw. But it's just something that's in me.
Did you and you studied to be an illustrator, correct? Like an artist, like you've known all the entire time that you wanted to be an artist.
Yeah, well, I went to art school. I thought I was going to be in advertising, and I still love drawing, so it just kind of ran into illustration. When I first got out of art school, I did a little graphic design, but I really didn't want to do that, so I just focused on illustration.
And Allison, I have always loved to read and loved to write. I did, when I was in 4th grade, I wrote a story called The Smart Cookie, and it was a contest for the state of Florida. It was a nutrition contest, and I submitted the essay, and it was about a overweight cookie who was trying to learn how to eat right, and that all she ate was sweets, and she learned about nutrition. And I won that contest and got lots of different prizes. But somewhere along the line, I got a little distracted and off track and ended up going to college for really business writing. So I'm a copywriter and I do a lot of marketing and advertising work on the side. And that was really how I stayed in the writing side of it, but it was business. And about 10 years ago, started to move over to the creative side, but I still do business writing today. I did some work for Chick-fil-A on their kids menu. I mean, their kids packages, like some of their toys and stuff that they have in there. So I've done that. So I didn't always know I wanted to be an author. I really didn't realize it was a job. Lindsay, you like to draw your pictures for your stories. I think that's great. We call people who like to do both author-straters. That's what I call them. That is not me at all. So here's one from Anthony. Mike, what is your favorite dinosaur? That's a great question.
Boy, I was just watching Jurassic Park the other night on TV. I was always a T-Rex fan. I mean, there's something about a T-Rex. I don't know. They're always fun to do. And I want to say Brontosaurus, but I don't think that's the real term for it. So, but those guys are always cool. I just, every kid grows up, or every kid loves dinosaurs, and so do grown-ups. So, but I say T-Rex.
Yeah, so I would probably say a Velociraptor. I love Jurassic Park as well. And for those of you who are out there, I don't know if you've seen the animated is it Crustacea? Like, I can't remember what the title of it is. My son and I are watching it, but it's Jurassic Park, the animated version. It's super good, and it's on Netflix.
Oh, wow.
I like the velociraptors, just how they organize and how they kind of hunt in packs. I always thought that was really cool. So I would say that. But if I had to pick my favorite, it would be a thesaurus, because we created our own dinosaur from scratch. So how cool is that? Philip, can you come to my school next year? We would love to come to your school. We do virtual visits. So you would have your teachers email me or Mike, and maybe we can pop in on a webinar or something. And I love that you've had other authors at your school. Mrs. Turner, I would say this is for kindergarten up to third. I think fourth graders would learn a lot of big words. But I would say generally maybe on the book, I think it's kindergarten to third. But words go with anyone. Because Mrs. Turner, if you go to my website at srjohannes.com, Mike we have some coloring pages out there. Penguin and Philomel put together some great, there's a teacher's guide out there. There's also an activity guide, and there is a link. I put together a Kahoot. My son actually put it together for me. So there's a Kahoot game out there that you could do with your class. That would be super fun. That mixes up all the words and the definitions, and the kids have to put them together. So that might be something fun for your class to do. And you too, Philip. So tell your teacher about that if she's not on here. So do you guys have any other questions for us as far as what it's like to be an author, what it's like to be an illustrator? I don't see any other questions. I will let you guys know that the process of what happened was, just to give you some background, is I sell the words to the publisher, and then they go out and they try to find an illustrator that would be perfect for this book. So at one point in the process, I got an email saying, we have 3 illustrators that we've narrowed it down to, and which types of these styles do you like? And Mike was obviously my favorite, and they went back and sent back some sketches on some different dinosaurs. So this was a cool process because I actually got a little bit of input into it. So we kind of brainstormed and gave some ideas, like what would he look like? You know, we don't want him to look like a regular dinosaur. We want a brand new dinosaur. We want him to be a different color. The editor had some ideas about the scales of being books, and like I talked a little bit about the spine looking like a book. So we really tried to make him be a thesaurus, like from the ground up. So that was a really fun process to be involved in.
Actually, I say I got a question. What's your favorite thing to illustrate and draw? I love monsters, so I really love drawing monsters. I love drawing dinosaurs, and I just love drawing. So pretty much whatever I can.
Yeah, I think one of the samples that they sent me from you was the Count Dracula, or the the Dracula that's on your Instagram.
Yeah.
How long does it take to write and illustrate one book? Well, to write a picture book, once I really get the idea, so once I got the idea for Theo TheSaurus, I wrote something in about a month, and that's writing. So I always say that writing doesn't take as long as editing. I spend probably 20% of my time writing. I spend about 60% of my time editing, and then the other 20% of my time complaining about editing. So it takes me about a month to write a book, but it takes me months after that to edit it, because I have an agent and an editor. And then, Mike, I don't know if you know this, but once you do the sketches for the art, they come back and we re-edit the words to make sure that, you know, what is being said is reflected in the art, or vice versa. So we kind of start tailoring it back a little bit as well. So there's a lot of editing. So be careful what you draw.
Careful what you write. For on my end, it all really depends, because there's a lot of back and forth that goes. So you'll do like sketches, you'll send them in, and you won't hear from someone for a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden, you get an email saying, well, we need these by, next week or something like that. So they set up deadlines. These things always kind of get shifted and moved. Thank goodness. It takes me about maybe like a day to do one piece of artwork, a colored piece of artwork. So if there's 32 pages, I need usually at least a month. Sometimes you end up working every day. Sometimes it depends also on the deadline and when they have to get it out to the printer. And so it really, I would like to have more time. This book was supposed to start out with a lot of time, and then it got pushed forward. So we lost a bunch of time that we had to kind of press forward faster. But I never get a lot of time, so I'm just used to this.
Not enough time. Did they give you did they say, hey, we need your sketches within a month? And
yeah,
process like between the sketch and the color.
Yeah, the book that we're working on now, we sat down and they gave me some dates and I looked at it. And all of a sudden I just realized I scheduled a vacation right around the end of the deadline too. So I was like, my wife and I had a little communication on mishap on dates.
So do they give you a month to do sketches and then they want color, or do they break that into chunks? Or
yeah, they do that sketches first, and then I just did some color samples. I guess they show them to, I forgot who they were showing them to.
The art director,
or buyers or something. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I just did a couple spreads that way. So and I sent in sketches for the new book. The corrections maybe a couple weeks ago, so I'm still waiting to hear back. So it just depends on who you're working for and what time crunch they're under.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not very well. It's taken us. Let's see. I'm trying to think of when I sold this book. I sold this book. Was it spring 19? I think it was spring 19. I sold this book. I'm not sure when you came on, Mike, but as maybe fall 19, I think it took some time. I seem to remember some time in there. Do you?
I think,
does that sound right?
I think it was later for me. I think it was like, I think it was in like a February, like in the winter, because I have my agent. I went to their holiday party in New York, and I was talking to her, and then I think a few weeks later, I got an email from her asking if I wanted to do this book. So I think it might have been in the new year, so maybe 2020 for me.
So for those of you who don't realize it does take a long time to put a picture book together. So as I mentioned, I sold this in the spring of 2019. Mike came on sometime maybe that fall or winter, and then the book has just come out. So it usually takes about 2 years to get a book to market for our picture book, because you've got the writing side, you've got the illustration side, and then once they put that together, there is a printing piece that has to happen that takes a very long time, and that is printed usually overseas.
Yeah.
So, and actually in the event of this book, there were some shipping delays, and so we originally were supposed to come out in May, and our release date was pushed back a month because the books were not going to be here in time. So it takes a very long time to put a picture book together, 18 to 24 months.
I'm sure COVID, threw a little wrench into this too. I'm sure. I know. So, yeah.
So Amber, did you guys have any questions from the library perspective, or did Debbie have any that were written in before we come to a close?
I put through all my questions that we received ahead of time. It was great. Thank you both so much. It was a wonderful presentation. And it was fabulous. We've gotten some sales tonight, and we're very happy about that. Anybody, like I said earlier, you can order online, or you can call or come in the store to get the book. And Shelli and Mike, we really appreciate you coming out virtually to visit with us. And I hope you can come back at some point and maybe do some school visits like one of the boys had asked. That would be awesome.
Anytime. That'd be fantastic.
So thank everybody for joining us tonight. And don't forget, we have more authors coming up for our To Be Read series this summer. Check our website or the library's websites for all our author events that are coming up. Good night.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.